talk a little Texas recruiting as they just are coming off another big weekend, and one of the most important prospects on the entire recruiting board was tight end Mark Bowman. That's where we're going to start because the last time you were on the show, you said he's one of the most important names on the board. So Mark Bowman from Mater Dei High School in Santa Ana, California. He was on campus this weekend. Do you like where Texas stands?
Absolutely. Especially after this last weekend. Look, we liked where Bowman and Texas were headed before this trip to Austin. This was, I don't know, he's been to Texas a ton of times. His dad actually grew up in Dallas-Fort Worth. He went to Louisville. And so there's a lot of familiarity there, some family ties, but he just really likes Austin. Now, I asked him what's going to be the most important factor for this guy in his decision, and he said tight end usage quickly. And that's something I think Texas has his attention about, because when you send Jatavian Sanders to an All-American status, Gunnar Helm, all-conference status, who's about to get drafted, there's a pattern there. Plus, he has a couple former teammates from Mater Dei that are actually in Austin right now, including a tight end in Spencer Shannon. He talked about kind of connecting with him, answering a lot of questions that he may not could get from other places, other schools. Him and Brandon Baker, who's probably your starting right tackle for Texas in 2025. That's another good friend. We saw them kind of hanging out before Bowman left the facility. Look, there's a lot of horses in this race. I mean, this is a kid that reclassified from 2027, and sometimes when you do that, you see them kind of go down the rankings a little bit. He didn't budge. That's just how good Mark Bowman is. Like, he is special, but he loved practice. He loved the intensity of practice. He loved how the young tight ends were getting infused into the program and were getting reps and things of that sort. He thought that was great. But ultimately, he said, like, he loved the environment and he loves Austin. And I said, what's going to be your biggest factor on your decision? And it came down to tight end usage in the city and coaching staff. And the two things he had noted before that were he loves the Texas coaching staff. Jeff Banks has been recruiting this kid for almost 2 years. And then also the fact that there's a lot of familiarity there with that Mater Dei pipeline trying to continue to flow to Austin. Texas is in a great spot, but so are a couple other schools. And so I think what they did is they held serve in this recruitment because Georgia is squarely in it.
Yep.
USC and Oregon are going to have a say. He's supposed to go see Ohio State and Ole Miss next month. You know, he's doing his due diligence. Wonderful family. Mom and dad were just so cool, so nice. I see where he gets them. We actually saw him the weekend before at the OT7 tournament up in Dallas, just dominating, playing wide receiver. This kid is special. Texas is in a great spot, but this still has a ways to go.
All right, so wanted to next talk about edge Richard Wesley. He's a 2027 reclassifier that is now in the 2026 class, and I noticed the three most important names on my outline are all reclassifications. Mark Bowman, Richard Wesley, and then we're going to talk Ezavier Crowell next. All reclassifying from 27 to 26. I didn't even realize that until you were talking about Mark Bowman. I was like, oh, yeah. So let's talk about Richard Wesley because this is a big battle. I mean, you got some heavy hitters involved in this one. You got Oregon, USC, Ohio State, among others. Texas had him on campus. What'd you learn over the weekend?
Yeah, so I think a lot of parents from class of 2027 kids know about that July 1st date. I think they have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's a pretty big theme this year just in recruiting in general. Havon Finney, he's another big name that has reclassified. So there's a bunch in the top 50 now that have all reclassed from 27 to 26.
Another one, Booby Feaster, who was actually on campus at Texas as well. And so I'll tell you this, some of these kids are ready. I can also tell you some of them aren't. But guess what? Richard Wesley is ready.
He's one of them.
He's one of them. Texas I believe they have 42 guys scheduled right now for official visits in June. And it's for the first 3 weekends in June. And that's kind of rigid. That's their formula right now. Out of all those guys, they have three edge prospects. And I think the reason for that is, one, that might be one of the most fruitful positions in the program right now. When you go from Ethan Burt, Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Colton Vasic, Zena Umeozulu, who had a great redshirt year. He's going to be counted on this year. Then you sign 5-star Lance Jackson, 4-star Smith Arogbo. Like, that room is in really, really good shape. And so right now, Texas is being very picky with who they bring in for 2026. And Richard Wesley's at the top of that list. They absolutely love this guy for good reason. If you're away from the ball, you can get away with this reclassification skipping a year when you're further away from the ball. This guy's on the line, and you can't even tell a difference. He is a young, gentle giant. Texas is quietly really climbing up this recruitment. He loves the Colin Simmons comps. He loves hanging out, getting to watch practice, getting to get to know Pete Kwiatkowski a lot better, but also Alan Clark, the new edge coach they brought in from Ohio State. That guy is already making a major dent in this edge stuff. And so I think they're going to be really picky. The number may even be 1 or 2 in this cycle, just based on roster allocation. But right now, Richard Wesley is a dude. He might be a little bit younger than these other guys, but he does not look it. He is special. His tape jumps off. It's surprising he's so young and doing this at such a high level. But he's another one like Bowman and Crowell that they've got a who's who list of schools where they can go. I know USC has done well there. Oregon looks good there as well. I think Alabama and Georgia are in the mix too. But ultimately, Texas just kind of got into this one maybe a month ago. And I think if you give Clark a little bit more time, they've positioned themselves to get the official visit. And that once that official visit happens, I think that's when we get a real sense of where Wesley could go. But right now, Texas has the best example for edge recruiting. You see what we did here? Watch and just copy paste.
All right. How about running back Ezavier Crowell? He is the 3rd reclassification. Booby Feaster was the 4th that was on campus. But we're going to talk Ezavier Crowell, the running back, was on campus. And what about where Texas stands? Did you get any intel?
Yeah, I caught up with Crowell as soon as he left when he was getting on his plane. It was funny. Him and Tashard Choice were getting a lot closer, the former running back coach. Right after Choice took the job with the Detroit Lions, Crowell tweets out, "I'm out on Texas. Not going to take my OV. Yeah. I'm shifting to somebody else." And it took Chad Scott maybe a week to change that back. And so you got to give him credit. Whatever Scott has said or done has been incredible because Crowell not only rescheduled the official for June 6th to the 8th, he came in for 2.5 days this last weekend. They did well. They moved the needle with this kid. And it's easy to see if you've just watched Texas football over the last 3 years, you see Bijan Robinson, Rashawn Johnson, Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue. Sark might be a pass-happy guy, but they hand the ball off a lot in Austin. Yeah. And when your 4th-string running back goes for 1,000 yards last year in Trey Wisner, that's going to raise some eyes. And so Crowell saw it and got to ask a lot of questions, got to meet Scott face-to-face. That went really, really well. I still can't get over Alabama and Auburn. He's a Jackson, Alabama kid. He's an in-state kid, and he has grown up loving those 2 schools. And I think it's going to be really tough to pull him from either one of those guys. But Texas doesn't care. As we've seen in the last few cycles, it doesn't matter where you're committed to or where you're coming from. Texas has as much confidence as anybody that they can get you. And Crowell really connected with the staff this weekend. I thought Trey Wisner helping him in recruiting was big because that's a guy that he was like hanging out with for a bit. And if anyone that knows Trey Wisner, there's not many people better in the college game as a person, especially off the field, to go through the things he has in life. Just sit down and listen to him because you can learn some stuff from Trey. I think Crowell picked that up. And I think he saw that culture that the kids talk about a lot and the coaches talk about a lot. Texas did really well to get not only back into the recruitment, to get him back on campus, but to make a dent in the recruitment. But I'm still holding my horses until that last OV in June to Alabama. I think that one's going to loom the largest, and then I could see a decision in July or August.
Yeah, that'll be a recruitment that we continue to watch as Texas keeping pace with its rivals. One more big-time prospect I want to talk about. He hasn't been on campus yet this week, but he will by the end of the week. We're talking 5-star offensive tackle, Felix Ojo. We've been talking about him a lot regarding Texas. How important is this spring visit for his recruitment?
Okay, I mean, it's kind of important. And I know that sounds silly, but I think Texas is far and away the leader right now. I think the reason they're getting him on campus in the spring is because he got a fear of missing out talking to the offensive lineman last weekend. When they came out, all these guys were gushing over Trevor Gooseby and DJ Campbell and Brandon Baker and Cole Hudson. You could just tell that they loved watching Kyle Flood work and watching these offensive linemen work. And they've seen what that O-line has looked like the last 3 or 4 years with the Kelvin Banks and the Cam Williams and the Christian Jones. They see that. And so I think that really, really got his attention. But, look, Texas is in a great spot with Felix Ojo. I think it's them versus the field. Ohio State is taking a big swing. Michigan's trying to get a big cut. But I think he stays at home. He is the priority on the big board, especially in the offensive tackle room. If he's 1A, John Turntine is 1B. Those are the two most important guys. I don't say this often, but I don't even know how important it is that Felix Ojo's coming to campus this weekend. He's been a dozen times. He'll be back either April 26th for the Fan Fest or for his official visit. I believe it's in mid or late June. I think the Horns stay in a great spot whether he's on campus or not. The truth is, we just see a kid. We saw an example of a kid with fear of missing out for him. He talked to Nicholas Robertson a lot, who just committed to Texas, big offensive lineman, road grader out of Klein High School in spring. And so, it sounds silly. How important is it that he comes? I don't know if it's that important. I think Texas is already in a tremendous spot there. I think he's jealous that all these other prospects got to watch practice and he hasn't got to see it yet. So he'll be on campus on Friday so that he doesn't miss out. So he'll be joined by Zayden Crimpin, another 4-star offensive lineman up here out of the Prosper area in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's going to be on campus as well. That kid may have more offers than anybody in the country. And so we were talking about it as a staff earlier at Inside Texas. We think some of these offensive linemen felt like they missed a good opportunity to watch practice last weekend, and now they're going to be fully padded up this Friday. They're getting back on campus. Texas and Ojo are in a great spot.
Man, this is sounding good for Texas. We're seeing them starting to climb. That momentum is building as we head from spring into summer. Justin Wells, Inside Texas, you guys do a phenomenal job of covering. We've only scratched the surface. You guys should go read Inside Texas for much more. Justin Wells, appreciate your time on the Inside Scoop.